Let's move on now. Item number D is consider the following item related to the solid waste contract. Approval of an amendment to contract section 8, title duty of provider with Republic Services of Texas LTD, providing monthly bulk pickup and every other week collection of recyclables. First public hearing and consideration of an ordinance amending section A8017, charge for collection. And Kelton, you are on.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council. Y'all seen this before, so we'll keep this fairly short. I like the interest of brevity part of it. So as we move on, just to quickly go over this again, the proposal is to take our current service, which is one time per week collection of trash and one time per week collection of recycling, and a quarterly bulk pickup, and move it to a proposed service of one time per week collection of trash and an every other week collection of recycling, and in turn going to a one time per month bulk pickup. And this bulk pickup would be on a set day, the same, your house and your residence every month would be picked up for bulk collection on the same day every month. That way everybody always knows what day your bulk collection will be on. I think that's part of the issue we have right now in the quarterly bulk pickup, is that there's a lot of confusion as to about, and why our usage of it is fairly low at this point, is because there's confusion over what day or what week your house will be collecting on. The proposed implementation of the new services is the schedule. We would propose that it take effect on August 1st. This allows us time to get the ordinance amendments, the hearing today, if so approved, and then one more reading. And then also allows us for the education time period, because as with any change, people are going to need to know what their days are, and they're also going to need to know what the cycle is on the recycling, the every other week part. So we'll need a little time to get the word out. You know, of course, we'll mailers in the water bill, you know, all the social media, Channel 17, newspaper, all of the avenues we use to get the word out on that. Kind of looking at Mr. Grindstaff last time asked the question about the operational impact for Republic, and of course, I think we'd like to go into more detail, but those numbers are proprietary, you know, as far as their exact numbers, and so, but what we can tell you is currently inside the city of San Angelo, and of course Republic Services more than just the city of San Angelo, but inside the city of San Angelo, they're currently using 11 trucks, and you can kind of see their current breakdown right here. And this is their proposed breakdown as we move if we move into the new service. And so they're running 11 trucks, going to continue to run 11 trucks. They're just shifting it from from 4 recycles to 3, and then increasing from 1 bulk to 2 bulk. Moving on, wanted to also show you that from the operational side of things, how they're proposing to do this is by making up time. And how we're able to do this without changing rates is they're making up time off the number of residences served. And this number right here, this 12,250, is based on current observation of the usage of the recycling services as it is now, and also making making some assumptions on what the increased services from the bulk will be as well too. So basically, they're reducing the number of times that they're actually picking something up on the recycling. In that turn, they're able to take that driver from that truck, put it into the bulk truck, and then so they actually have created some time and some efficiencies there to be able to actually be able to provide this service without having an increase in the cost of it. That one of the things that they are going to have to do is actually add 2 employees. I think they call them swampers, but the guys that ride on the back of the truck, the helpers, they're going to be able to free up the driver, but they still need helpers, so they're going to have to hire or add on a couple of extra employees to ride on the back of the truck for the new service. And another thing it's going to impact Republic on is currently the recycling is not going across the scales out of the landfill, and so they don't have to pay that charge out of the landfill, but the Republic Services hauling company has to pay pay the charge just like every other citizen, everybody else out there that has to go across the scales. They have to pay that fee as it goes across the scales. And of course, that's going to be an additional cost to them as well too as we move forward on that. As far as the number of employees that they have, currently they have 12 employees that are actually drivers for the trucks. One is called a swing driver. They have the additional driver in case they do need, somebody calls in sick, somebody quits, whatever. So there's always that. And then they're also, they've started to, as they're moving along, they're also starting to try to create some efficiencies for themselves, and they're starting a new training program with their employees. I think, luckily, from an employer standpoint, not lucky from the economic development side of things, but since the slowdown in the oil field, they've actually been able to hire helpers with CDLs already, so they can easily train these people and actually have, cross-training people for different jobs. And so they'll be a lot more flexible as we move into the future as well. Getting into the recommendations, and then we can move on to any questions that y'all might have. Again, staff recommends amending the contract and the ordinances for this new service. We conducted the online survey in March. 76% of the respondents of that survey favored the changes. Both Jeremy and the guys over at Republic, they're constantly getting calls, especially on the bulky waste for the yard waste and the yard clippings, constantly needing that service provided. We've noticed a significant increase in our tonnage for the Citizen Street Dumping Program out there. I think some of that's attributable to that. And so I think from the city's aspect, we would hope from the city's aspect that this would help citizens not have to make that extra trip out to the landfill every month, that this service would be provided for them by this service as well too. And then just want to reiterate that the rates for what you're paying right now will not change. It's going to be exactly the same. We're not proposing any increases in fees. And over time, and this basically, and I think there's a question out there is Republic going to make anything off of this? Well, the only way that Republic, is going to make anything off of this is if nobody uses the service. And if nobody wants to use this service, I promise you we'll be back right here this time next year talking about what we're going to do or what we need to do to either provide a service that's effective for the citizens, and or we need to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for. So with that, I'll kind of wrap up and answer any questions.
Charlotte, start with you.
Well, I'm going to be the monkey in the wrench. I don't like looking at online survey conducted in March with 76% of respondents favoring the proposed change. And Shane, I know what you're saying, we've discussed it, but that 76%, if you don't read that exactly, you're thinking that 76% of our customers out there agree to this, and that's not so.
No, that's not, and I have the numbers right here. Of the survey results, and I'll read them. We had 2,626 total submissions that were received.
Out of how many customers?
Out of, we're going to say roughly 30,000. It's a little less than that right now, but roughly
2,000 out of 30,000.
Yes, ma'am. And again, I guess it's from the respondents' point of it, whether they knew about it or didn't know about it, or whether they took a strong enough interest in it to actually fill out the survey. We don't know that, but just gauging from this survey, and again, it was just a survey out there to try to gauge public opinion as best we could. But out of 2,626, 619 votes wanted to stay the same, and 2,007 votes proposed to change, and so that's where we get to 76%.
Well, the thing of change, that's the word right there. How long now have we been in the change that we changed to?
Well, the contract's been 2 years, but the actual
1 full year.
change of service.
And I can attest to the number of phone calls that I receive on trash. They don't like change, period. That's what it boils down to. They don't like change. And here, just now, a year getting into this, and we want to change it again when we were having problems getting people to actually use the recycle. And, I have learned, I have been educated considerably on how much can be recycled. It is amazing, and I and everybody up and down my street have really learned what they can recycle. And it's giving time for people to understand, and I think that's the importance here, is people understanding, and let's do recycle more, and let's do get those numbers up. But I see changing with the pickup, it's just confusion. And that's the calls that I have received. I don't know about anybody else, but that's the calls that I have received is, I'm just now getting used to change to, what do you want to change it again for? And I see that as a problem. I don't know how the other council members do.
Lizzie?
As far as my switch on the other side is, I have had people call me constantly on the blocks. They want to clean their yards, they want to get rid of the junk, so they do want the bulk pickup more often than once every 3 months. So that's how.
Yes, ma'am. We
I
get
do
a lot.
have that too. They want the bulk pickup once a month. But they still want.
And we get a ton of phone calls on that about, and right now especially, I mean, thank the Lord that we've had record rainfall this spring, but, with record rainfall also brings record yard clippings. And so.
And mosquitoes.
And mosquitoes. And so we're, those are the things that we're dealing with in this particular moment, this particular year. And so, again, this is something that the citizens continuously reach out to not only the city, but also Republic as well, asking for the additional services.
Shane, you mentioned the every other week recycling pickup. That's what the understanding for those individuals that are actually using, they have a lot of recycling. They can actually get another container, is that correct?
That's correct.
So
If you are a heavy user of the recycling service itself, and once a week you're filling up your recycling bin, you can, within the first 6 months after implementation, you can't live without the additional card. You can contact Republic Services and they'll bring you out one free of charge, and your bill doesn't change, it's the same bill, so.
Well,
Say that one more time. Free of
The-
charge?
free of charge, I can have a
There-
third can?
No, second recycling.
Second recycle can, so that's 3 cans.
Yes, ma'am. If you are a heavy recycler, but it has to be
Free of
for
charge.
recycling, and for the first 6 months, they're gonna deliver it. They're gonna bring it to your house free of charge. Because right now, if you call and say, I need another can, there's a charge associated with bringing you out an additional can. We're gonna waive that charge for bringing that can to your house for the first 6 months. If you are a heavy recycler and you need that additional recycling can, and that second can will be included within your existing bill.
I have one more question. If this does pass, they also, the constituents want to know what date will this be? Because sometimes they hear that it's this date or it's that date, and then it doesn't get picked up. And then that's when we get called and we have to bother Ray and go, hey, truck didn't go by there, didn't pick up, or the people weren't ready because they didn't know. So that's very important that they do know that. My other thing is that in this training that these guys are gonna do, the other day I was driving home and they had some guys in the back of the truck and they were throwing the cans, the trash in the back. Well, when they weren't putting them down, they were throwing these trash cans back to the curb, falling. And I'm saying that if somebody comes around the corner and their trash can is close to the middle of the street, it's a big problem. So I'm just saying, be careful, have those guys watch out what they're doing and bring to their attention, hey, don't be throwing those trash cans because they get in the road.
Elizabeth, do you have anything?
Oh, yes, sir.
We'll go ahead and get started then, and then I'll
Well,
get to the
I
left
didn't
one.
want you to forget the guys on the other side.
I got them.
I appreciate your acknowledgement of my questions about operational changes. And I was, Republic came over and met with me yesterday about 4 o'clock. So I haven't had, I don't think, enough time to completely digest everything. And really what I was asking was not operational impact as much as it was financial impact, and I think you understand that. As we've pointed out, we have about, I guess, 8 or 9% of our users that responded to a survey, and that's good. But as I told you, I'm still worried about the other 90% and how they perceive this. I talked to literally hundreds of people in the last 4 months. I'm tired of hearing myself talk, but I'm going to keep going until I fall over dead. Most people are still, as Charlotte points out, upset about the changes in trash collection. We got used to a very easy system that allowed us to put anything on the curb and it'd go away. And I think I'm a realist in that that wasn't going to continue at the same rate, but still change is difficult. And I'm a little sorry that when we put this option out to get people's response, that we didn't ask them more what changes they would like to see. Because I think most of my constituents are still upset that they didn't help design the trash service on the front end. I know it was discussed at council meetings, the council friendliest way to gather public input. And so I've really heard from more people that say, don't touch it. Just let it be for a little while. I'm learning to recycle. I figure out what else I can put out. And, but they also want bulk pickup. So, you know, I don't have the solution right now, but I don't feel that I have enough information on the financial side to feel that this is in the taxpayer's best interest. I think that if we could wait, I think we could ask for more input and at least have more public buy-in than we do now. That's my own thought. I'm not sure how that will really change. When I was speaking with the Republic representatives yesterday, they also mentioned the addition or the calling out of the 1-ton minimum at the landfill. Is that a part of this?
Yep.
Okay, and we'll see that at another time?
You will see that at another time.
Okay,
We have other ordinance changes that we would like to see, Republic would like to see, but we are not addressing those at this time. This is enough for today.
I agree with you. However, if there are ordinance changes or things that one side of this, one party believes were overlooked, then I think that we ought to be able to maybe discuss a few other things. I'm not trying to harm either side, but I think, again, the public needs to feel like they have more of an ownership in this contract than they do. And if we had more time for that, the outcome may be exactly the same, and you may be standing before me or someone else making the same presentation. But right now, I'm not willing to support this until that happens.
Harry?
Yeah, very quickly, going to this bulk pickup is an excellent idea, especially with what we've had. I'll give you an example from my home. I trimmed trees about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and it took me 4 weeks to get rid of all of the limbs by breaking them up and getting them in the trash can. I think we'll get more people that will get rid of items out of their house, out of their yards, if we go to this bulk pickup. So I'm certainly in favor of it. 9%, that's probably a pretty good response for the number of people in San Angelo that's going to be looking at this. I will also tell you that while I was campaigning, trash was still on a lot of people's minds. But one of the things they said was, and Charlotte alluded to this, is the finally getting used to this trash pickup and the way we're doing it. I'm going to go ahead and support this because I think today is the right time to do this. I have to agree with Liz. There are some other items out there that I think we can do. I'd certainly like to work with Republic on trying to get this done. If we're going to get people to continue to recycle, we've got to get more items in that recycling stream. We've got to figure out how to do glass. We've got to figure out how to put all that stuff in there that needs to be recycled and get it out there. We've got to work with SAFE, like Pascal and that particular group. So we've got a ways to go, But I want today, I want to see this bulk pickup start, and I'd rather see it start earlier than August 1st, but I understand we've got another reading on this, so that's it.
Marty?
I'm gonna let,
Bill?
I remember reading in the Standard Times that you said that the survey would be available when you went downtown to pay your water bill. It was not, as far as I could see. Anyway, I would like to see larger families have 2 trash cans at no extra charge. Because often you see that brown cap trash can and there's bags alongside of it. And then when the trash is picked up, it's left there. Also, I'd like to see those trash cans off the street. I think it's a hazard. And in the contract, I believe it says it's supposed to be rolled up at the curb from the lawn, not put in the street and then rolled back to the curb. And if you look at the diagram, the graphic that's on top of that trash can, you see it's up on the lawn, and you can see the curb and grass under the wheels.
Okay.
I do support the change for the bulk pickup.
Marty?
I guess I'm like everyone else, I probably get at least 1 call a week on it, and people aren't happy with it. And the primary reason they're not happy with it is because of where it's being picked up. They don't like being picked up in the front. I don't like it being picked up in the front. It's always been picked up in front of my house because I don't have an alley. So I've learned to live with it, but people that have alleys, that's the primary reason why the alley's there is to pick up trash, I believe. I think we should, I think there's some other changes that need to be made, and I think we should do all the changes at one time and not stir the people, the constituents up, and then let it die and then do it again. So, you know, at this time, I'm not going to support it. So. And that's the primary reason.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm getting a whole bunch of calls on this. I'm getting a lot of calls, and it's all from people that have bags and bags of lawn waste, and there's no place to put it. They can't put it in their trash can. They have no way to get it to the landfill. They throw it in their backyards, and then there are other problems that arise that hopefully have been taken care of, where they start receiving other calls from code, and it is a serious, serious problem. And primarily, it's the elderly, and it's those that cannot load this and carry it to the landfill. And we have created a monster here by not allowing them an opportunity to get rid of this lawn waste. And I think that this is a perfect solution. This gives, once a month, we will pick up their lawn waste. We will get it out of their yards, we will get it out of their alleys. It's a mosquito problem. It is a problem all around. This waste needs to be handled. And I've had a lot of people calling me. And I think that this is long overdue. I would like to have seen this done 2 months ago so that we could have hit this lawn waste during the growing season and not have the problem that we have caused in our community. So I'm very much in support of this. We need to get this going. We need to get this started. And if the city can do anything to make an extra run before August 1, if there is any way that the city can sponsor a run before August 1 and to help these citizens get this lawn waste out of their yard, I would be very much in favor of doing that. We spoke about that. If there's any way we could do this, just as someone down here said, I'd like to see it done sooner. But I think we need to get on this, and we need to get on it quick. Charlotte?
I don't want to lose sight of what's on the agenda before us today. Rates are not going to be affected. We are talking about a once-a-month bulk pickup, which I'm in favor of and have had plenty of calls, and I do agree with that. But to relinquish the once-a-week recycle, I'm not ready there, and I don't think the people are ready yet. We're still training people to recycle. And I agree totally with Marty that any and other change that we make with reference to the current contract, let's do it all at once so that Republic you won't have to come back and see us every week or every month with something that we're wanting to change unless piecemeal and dribble this out, because that creates lots of confusion and aggravation. But I'm all for the bulk pickup immediately. I wanted to make that clear, because I've had plenty of calls of, I've got 40 bags of leaves, and I can't wait 3 months for them to be picked up.
Yes,
I know, I just needed to make a clarification. This will be picked up in the front, correct? Because some people go, well, can I put it in the alley?
It's-
The bulks will be
it's-
picked up in the front.
The bulk will be picked up at the same place your current trash is being picked up.
And like I said, I'm also in support of it. I really think we need to get on it. I don't think we need to wait.
Elizabeth?
I like the idea that they've offered another can for those who want to recycle, who are recycling more, and I think we need to encourage that. So I think that's an excellent point that I didn't realize in the beginning. But if you think about a lot in my district, many of which are 50 feet wide, literally, and you have 2 cans that are out there for over 24, 36 hours, and you're adding another can, I mean, you realize how this has changed the whole appearance of our neighborhoods. I mean, so 3 cans, I mean, roughly 10 feet, 20% of your street front is now some sort of garbage apparatus. And, you know, so many of my constituents still are not convinced that there aren't a few alleys that they can run in. So, you know, I feel that voting on this at this time is going to have a lot of people really upset that we've ignored some of their issues. And again, it may be, Shane, that equipment can't make it. And if we go out and look alley to alley, there's too many overheads or the alleys are too narrow. But people aren't convinced of that yet. And so, like Marty and Charlotte said, my interest is not in having more bulk pickup, because I personally would utilize it and need that help. I don't have a pickup truck, and I'm not gonna have access to that kind of help. But I think I would rather make more changes at once than do it every few months, because I think that's gonna be just more difficult for the citizens.
Go ahead, further, Bill.
I agree with Marty. I have an alleyway, and I would like the trash to be returned to the alleyway. I don't know why they can't go down the alleyway back and forth.
We're getting a little bit off
Yeah.
of, we're getting off of our agenda. We have to stay with our agenda. And this is something we can discuss at a later date. We can put it on the
And
agenda.
I will-
But right now, we're talking about bulk
And
pickup.
I will be glad to sit down, Bill, with you one-on-one and discuss how all this came about and some of the logistical issues that are associated with it. Want to let council know, anything can be done, but it's at what cost are you willing to have anything done? So that's what we have to weigh, is the cost of the citizens, so.
I think that that's part of the discussion that needs to take place, because when you start putting prices to things, then people understand. And I don't think right now they fully understand that. And I think, you know, sometimes public meetings can be pretty arduous, but at the same time, they're also very educational. So when we look at what other cities' rates are versus their services, I think that could be very enlightening, but I think that's an exercise that we need to go through personally. So, Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we table this item.
We do have a motion to table the item, to postpone it. We do have a second, and if that's what the council chooses, that's what we will do. But we have created a mess for our citizens, and we have the opportunity of a once-a-month bulk pickup that will solve these problems. And I'm not willing to table this. I will vote against it. I would like to implement this, get this system up and running, and let's take care of all of these mosquito nests of yard waste that we have all over our city before we have a bigger problem. I think we've waited 2 months too long anyway. Do have a motion. We will run through this. Any further council comment before we go to public comment on this? Let's open it up for public comment. State your name, and you've got 5.
R.A. Cantrell, resident of San Angelo. I'd like to applaud the action that you have proposed taking on bulk pickup. I noticed that Mr. Kelton from time to time, employed the first person plural pronoun when speaking about we or Republic, and it kind of got me confused as to whether he works for them or for us. Do you work for
Who do you work for,
Republic or
Jay?
do you work for the
I
city?
work for the city of San Angelo.
I know who he
It
was.
wasn't quite clear by your statement. And in an adversarial relationship where we're contractually obligated to deal with Republic, we should have our employees and our council be on our side, not theirs. I would applaud going straightforwardly ahead and passing this bulk pickup, and then opening up discussion in subsequent meetings for alley pickup and other items. But to delay on the bulk pickup change, I think that doesn't pass the smell test. There's something wrong with not doing that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Maybe now it's time to get
I'm
off
sorry I
this,
put
right?
you off last time, but
Right,
now is the
fine.
right time.
You addressed most everything that I came here with concern. Number one is this going to the bi-weekly thing. And I've got to tell you that it will work for a family of two. I've proved it myself, my family. We only have two people. But when you have families that are more than two, that's a problem there, okay? And then the other problem is because they generate more trash, of course. You get a family of 5 or 6, kids and whatever, you're gonna generate more trash. Okay, so then the recyclable thing, he said that they would bring another bin. Okay, we've already got 2 bins out there. Now we're gonna have 4 bins out there.
3.
Oh, well, 3. If you recycle another, then you're gonna have more. Okay, the one thing I have the biggest problem with is that this junk that we're gonna accumulate, not the trash, but the bulk things. And they say that it cannot be picked up in the alley, that it needs to be picked up in the front. I don't buy that, because they're not taking one of the trash trucks that have the big bin that they pick up the little containers with. They're picking it up with a regular truck. Someone explained to me why that regular truck cannot come down the alley and pick up bulk, the stuff that we're not gonna, you know what I'm talking about, you addressed it. Okay, if someone can tell me, if there's the 2 guys that are walking along behind the truck loading this stuff, why can it not be done in the alley? Now, when I called up the Republic Services on this issue, we will pick it up the week of the 5th. I went, I'm gonna have to stick it out there on my grass or in the front yard and leave it there for 5 days, or whenever they get ready to pick it up. I'm sitting there, I don't want that trash in front of my house. Neither does anyone else. I mean, it's stupid. You know it, I know it, and Tom, Dick, and Harry knows it. Okay, we can live with the little push-along things. Not all people can. One of the reasons that it becomes a problem for some people, all in the older areas, they're not set up with sidewalks down the side of the house. I'm one, because I made my own sidewalk, so I can wheel it out to the front and stick it out by the curb. But other people have dirt and grass and stuff. And those little containers do not push well in dirt and grass. You know it and I know it. But at the same time, my biggest beef is this thing with the bulk trash, why it cannot be picked up in the alley. Now, we've had stuff that's bad in the alleys, and we have it today. All the older areas don't have these sidewalk deals. And, I just have a problem that it cannot be done in the alley. I do not know why anyone would not agree to only the bulk items, put them in the alley, when you've got 2 guys coming with a truck and throwing it in the deal. Now, the other ones, I've watched them. They are too tall for some areas in the alley, because they pick up that little box and dump it, they'd be ripping down wires all over the place. I can live with that. But I don't think we should have to live with this bulk in the front. What happened to keep San Angelo beautiful? We're not doing it, people. That is the most ignorant thing I've ever seen, that it cannot be done. If you were picking it up with the same truck, it'd be fair to say, we can't do it. But to sit there and tell me that this truck with two guys walking along, that you cannot pick it up in the alley, that's hogwash. You know it, I know it. The whole city of San Angelo knows it. It's time that we do something to correct these problems for the people of the city of San Angelo, not for somebody else's interest. If I'm beefing, I am beefing. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public? Good morning.
Hello, Christy Euchre. I'm a representative of Texas Disposal. I'm also a resident of San Angelo. And I would like to just, first of all, despite how the city decides to handle bulk pickup and recycling, I think the important thing we need to step back and look at is the fact that we're actually talking about it. And that there are options in front of us to look at. The responsiveness of the city by doing the survey, whether it's 2% or 50% of the people, it's one way to get to what people's needs are. But what I want to bring up is not about these options, but about the cost associated with it. And I think that the fact that it's not going up is that's what people want to hear right away. But if you look at this level of service, going from once a week recycle pickup to every other week, that's 26 fewer weeks that a truck is having to go by every single household, 30,000 households. And you're gonna add 8 runs of a bulk pickup. Now that bulk pickup is not gonna be a couch in front of everybody's house every month. In fact, a lot of people, it's not gonna make them get more stuff out of their house. It will help with yard waste. And I think that's where this bulk thing is all about yard waste. We all know that because everyone's trying to figure out how to deal with that. But when you think about the fact that what's gonna be picked up and bulky versus the runs that those trucks were making on recycle is not an equal cost. As an example, when Texas Disposal proposed its alternative every other week recycling, because the city requested every week, but because most cities do every other week recycling, we proposed that if you added, I think at the time we had 2 bulky pickups, so if you add more to that to equal this, the net effect would be 17% less of what TDS originally proposed. That's our own rates, just our rates against themselves. So the point is, I would suggest as a citizen, that maybe we look at the cost of this. Mainly, I would point out in light of the 50-cent penalty that every resident is paying because we're not meeting that recycling tonnage. And we need to remember that's added on there. So let's look at the cost, period, before we move forward. And I think that's something that makes sense before we make a decision like this, regardless of if we do the bulk pickup or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Good morning, Art.
Morning. Good morning to everybody else. I'm Art Elkins, and I'm sure glad this thing has been tabled.
Well, it hasn't yet.
Well, hopefully. My main concern is the placement of the containers. Once the garbage is picked up, the containers should be put out of sight. Not left out on the curb, out in the street or wherever. I think they should be put out of sight, in the back of the house or whatever. The bulk items, I agree that it should be every 3 months. If the city would enforce their codes, all this bulk stuff, we wouldn't even have it now. I mean, the leaves and stuff, those will decompose. But all these junk vehicles, refrigerators, you name it, all over town. Code enforcement would enforce their codes, we wouldn't have this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Further public comment? The motion has been made that we postpone, that we table this. It has been seconded, so we will need to vote on it. So I will call for the vote at this time. All in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 Let's hear a raise of hand. Okay, so all then would be, the next one would be nay, and that's those that do not want to table. So it has been tabled.
Further research to be done to accommodate more.
It has been tabled.